Hello, everybody. My name is Lita Abella. Welcome to my show, What's Your Story in the New Normal? I'm an entrepreneur, health and wellness consultant, public speaker, licensed private investigator, and former LAPD lieutenant. And in between all that, I went to law school and obtained my JD. I tell stories that inform, inspire, and influence others. Well, we finally were able to get together again. And this is our part 3 in the series of the real estate market during COVID. And this time we are going to be talking about tips for buyers. So hopefully you remember my realtors, my neighbors, and my friends, Silvia Portugal-Singh and Ami Singh. And welcome, both of you. I'm so happy to see you. It's been a while. We've both been so extremely busy. Can you start with you, Silvia? And just give the listeners and viewers a little bit of background about yourself, please.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having us. I'm a third-generation real estate broker and investor, and my husband and I have a team of wonderful agents, lenders, escrow officers, contractors, you name it. And we're so happy to be here and give any tips that we can and what we're seeing in the market, especially right now during COVID.
Great.
I'm Portugal Singh. I'm Sylvia's partner and come with a background in design and construction and project management. I've used all that experience to make sure everyone's got the best home they have.
And we have a lot of information to provide to buyers who are interested in purchasing property here in California. So let's go ahead and talk about that.
So absolutely. So a big thing that we're seeing right now with COVID is the market has been on fire. People are being incentivized by these ridiculously low interest rates that are in the 2s now. So people are trying to take advantage of the cost savings associated with that and make their moves from renting to buying as soon as possible. So what we're seeing right now as a whole is a lot of multiple offers, a lot of instances where you have to act extremely quickly to get the home that you want. The great homes are selling very quickly at all price points. Last week we had a property that was the $200,000 range, 10 offers. So there are opportunities for all different price ranges, and of course it goes up from there. But we were discussing, you know, what is the advice that we give our clients, especially first-time home buyers that may not be familiar with the process. And the very first step is to be pre-approved. So to speak with 1 or 2 lenders, lenders should be competing for your business as far as rates and terms. And that's really your very first step, so you can get an idea of, you know, what can I really afford? What sort of payments am I comfortable with? And a lot of people end up being very surprised that their mortgage payments are a lot less than their rent, for example. So that's always the very first place that we recommend all buyers begin.
The fact that I did sell my home through both of you, I know that you actually have some lenders that you can refer people to, which after we film this episode, you can go ahead and give me your contacts, and then I could also put it in the show notes. So anyone who's interested, if they don't have any lenders that they work with, they can definitely contact your lenders that you know of.
100%. And we have lenders that are that we've worked with, that have worked with my parents even, you know, for 30 years plus. So we have lenders that are unique to whatever the buyer's needs are. So lenders that can get as creative as needed, ones that are great with FHA, 3% down. There's all kinds of different and in-betweens that we have. So we'd be happy to provide that information.
And even the VA loans too. That's something a lot of veterans don't realize. So former military personnel, or even family members of military personnel, that's really a good option for them.
Yes.
That's like I was going to mention the FHA, conventional military veteran loans for veterans. There's so many different opportunities out there, and lenders are willing to work with you.
Absolutely.
In the market.
That's right.
So would you say, because homes are selling so quickly, and somebody who had 10 multiple offers, that's amazing. Would you say this is more of a seller's market?
So what we're seeing right now, and based on, we're constantly in these meetings with chief economists, and we're lucky to have preview to that with our company, is that we're in a neutral market, meaning that it's a good seller's market and it's a good buyer's market. It's a good seller's market because of all of the need, because there's low inventory, but it's not 2017 where you're getting ridiculously high prices. But you are still getting multiple offers. So that plays to the seller's market. And then on the buy side, it costs less to buy. So buyers are incentivized to make moves. So it's kind of one of those unique markets where it's really great for both parties right now.
Awesome. And I know, Ami, you had some other tips that you wanted to bring up for buyers.
So while it's great for both buyer and seller, we look at, well, who is that seller, right? So you can have the option, so once you know what you're qualified to buy, you can buy a brand new home, or you can buy a home on the resale, which means someone's previously lived there. And that gives you a lot of flexibility as well, because you also want to consider not only how much home you can afford, but where is that home? Are you willing to drive an hour to and from work? Once we start going back to our offices, you want to be within 15 minutes of work. So as agents who know the market really well in Southern California, we help our clients identify the best neighborhoods for them. What's important to them. They want to be near hiking trails. They want to be near a certain school. So we do a lot of that analysis with our clients, and then we see what makes the most sense for you. So when we look at the new home, a lot of people just say, well, where do I go? How do I start? Don't I just go to the new home? No, because that salesperson there is representing the new home builder, right? They don't have your interest in mind. So we're going to have your interest in mind when it comes to negotiating for you, making sure we're getting the most fair offer for you, any incentives that we can negotiate. And fortunately, I got my start with new home builders, so I know their playbook. I know how they operate. I know how to get the specific incentives from them. And also the other important point is the timing, because these new home builders often open in phases. So right now, there's such a limited supply of housing for the new home construction that we went to Santa Clarita, we went all the way up to Ontario, and we find the same thing. Oh, we've got one house left, we're starting a new phase, come back April 2021, but you need to put your deposit down now. So because of that, it's really important to first find out if there are homes currently available before you get married to a community. If that's not the case, that's okay, because if it's the area you like, there are people who've taken homes and completely remodeled them on the inside, where you had no clue that that home might have been built in 1970 something or 1950 something, because actually back then they used such good lumber and the craftsmen were actually true craftsmen, but those were actually really well built houses. And so to have someone come through and put new drywall, new countertops and floors and new fixtures, it can be like living in a brand new home. You sometimes can save some money, and you sometimes get nice mature trees around your house. So there are advantages to that. And then there's right in between, where maybe it's a home that was built anytime, let's say from the 1920s through the 1990s, where it needs a little TLC. So maybe you're a little handy and want to have a fun project, or maybe you can see or can't see that. So we help you with the vision, what that home can become. We can talk with you about expected average costs to do certain things like maybe new floors, a new paint job. Sometimes those little tweaks that can make that house going from, I'm not too sure, to that's it, that's the house I want. So yeah, that's what we really love doing.
And with Ami's background, as a praise to you, I was super impressed across the board on this. So a couple weeks ago, because of his builder background, he has such an eye and an understanding at a deep level of what goes into it and what needs to be there. Anyway, he ended up getting a $164,000 discount on a home for one of our buyers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it goes a long way with having that experience and having somebody back you that knows what they're actually talking about and what's going on behind the walls and all of that. So anyway.
So yeah, it's something we enjoy doing. It's the fun part. And then what happens is now we found your job. Now what happens? Okay, so that's where the rubber meets the road. It's time to make an offer. So the thing called contingency periods. So we make your offer. Your offer has to first get accepted before anything happens. And then you go, well, what if there's something wrong with the house? What do I do? Well, fortunately, you have these contingency periods called an inspection contingency period. And the seller is going to disclose to you anything they know about the home. And then we have home inspectors that we can refer to you that do the home inspection, and they're going to provide you a report. And it's going to maybe be something like the one from this morning where there's like nothing wrong with the house. Really, it needed a faucet and that was it. Where the other times you might get it where they're going to say, well, here's some concerns. And we'll review those concerns together to see, is this a house that makes sense for you to move forward with? Or is this maybe a little more than you want to take on, and we keep looking? And that way you still have the ability to back out of the deal and get your deposit back if something comes up that is beyond your comfort level that we couldn't see when we initially walked through. So that should really help give you peace of mind as a first-time buyer. And this can be upwards of like the standard be 14 days. Sometimes you see a more aggressive 10 days inspection period to still give plenty of time to make sure the home you're buying is something you really want. So I'll turn it over to Sylvia to talk about two other types of appraisal contingencies, the appraisal and loan contingency.
Okay.
Yeah, so with especially first-time home buyers or any buyers that maybe it's been a while, there are three contingency timeframes: the inspection that Ami just mentioned, then we have appraisal and loan. So appraisal right now is a unique market. They usually take about 6 months back, but because of COVID and we've had very unique circumstances with the housing market, appraisals they're analyzing numbers back to a year. So that is another time that's kind of an insurance policy for the bank, and also it reinforces the value for the buyer. So a lot of buyers get kind of nervous. It's an exciting time, but it can also be nerve-wracking. Am I making the right choice? Am I making the right move here? The appraisal will tell you, based on a conservative value, yes, you're investing your money properly, or no, the bank thinks that you're over-investing. Sometimes it's under-investing, which is great, instant equity. And then the final portion is the loan, which means they've reviewed all your documents, you've sent in, there's a list of items that the lender requires, and that goes through underwriting, and then that's the final phase of, okay, this is your contingency period. Are you still in love with the home? If so, great, we move forward. If not, that is your period of protection, basically, to decide if you really do want to move forward.
Now, I know the answer to this question, but our viewers may not. One, who normally pays for the appraisal? Is it the buyer or the seller? And number two, it just slipped my mind. Well, go ahead and answer that one.
Okay, so the inspections and appraisal are paid for by the person who's ordering them, which is the buyer.
The buyer, okay.
That's correct. So the buyer pays for that. You are not required to provide that to the seller. That is your document that you pay for, your insurance policy. And when that appraisal comes in, lately it's actually, things have been appraising even higher because of this unique market that we're in. You have that instant equity in the home. You don't have to disclose that to the seller. That's your, hey, good for me. I have instant equity. I got a good deal. But no, the buyer does pay for that because it's their insurance policy.
I just want to touch on instant equity refers to you buy a $100,000 home and appraise at $150,000. That's $50,000 created in value that you can actually tap into, real hard cash that you didn't have before, all from just making a purchase.
Right. Now, one of the things people are so scared about buying homes is like, well, how much money do I need? So let's take, and I know this is not the medium home price in Los Angeles County, but let's just take the number 500,000 because that's easy to deal with. And we all have our cell phones so we can get our calculators out. Let's pretend I am a buyer and I want to buy a home for 500,000. How much would I need for the down payment? How much would I need for closing costs? And are there any other costs or fees that I need to think about? Because I want to know what the whole amount is that I need for that $500,000 house.
Yeah, so great question. And a lender will be able to dig deeper into that because a lot of things do come into play, but just generally, I can give you some examples because, credit, how much, the job history, a lot of different things come into play as far as what they can offer, debts and things. So as an example, on a $500,000 home, if you're a veteran, 0% down, which is just wonderful. And we owe that and so much more to our vets. So that's a great program for any veterans or those with family that have veterans in their family, they can also utilize that. But other popular programs, if you are not a vet, 3% down, so $15,000, let's say. On average, closing costs can be anywhere between 7 and 8%. And of course, that includes your first month's payments as well. It includes some prorated taxes, so that does differ a few percentage points here and there depending on when you close escrow, time of year. But as a general rule of thumb, that's an example of a 3% down payment, $15,000.
Would that be an FHA type of loan?
Yes.
And like a conventional, let's say I want a 30-year conventional fixed loan. Is it normally like a 20% down payment?
So right now we're seeing a lot of 10%.
Oh.
We're seeing a lot of 10%, even with, as we get closer to the larger purchases, for example, first and second loans, because the interest rates are so low that it still makes perfect sense for buyers to do it that way. That way they don't have to come up with 20% down anymore. Yeah, it's fantastic. There's so many loan programs that are really incentivizing buyers to make moves to continue pushing our economy, keeping us all afloat.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, Ami, you brought up such a great point that I never even thought of. Dealing with new homes, I would have never thought to hire a realtor because it's like, oh, well, you know, it's a new home. So there's a realtor that's going to be helping me purchase this home.
Nope.
But that was excellent information. I've bought a lot of homes, but and a lot of new homes too. And I've never even thought about hiring a realtor for something like that. So that's like very, very key. Another question I have is, what are the types of questions that buyers should be asking when they're purchasing a property?
Yeah, well, I think one of the first things that you're asking is the condition of the home, right? Am I looking for a home that is truly move-in ready, where I literally can just put my furniture in and live? Or am I willing to do some small fixes? I think that's one very important thing. I also think the lifestyle of home. Do I want a townhome where I can literally lock the door behind me and go? Is that my lifestyle for work and pleasure? Or do I want a large backyard? Do I have 3 kids and 3 dogs and need space? So that's a big consideration as well.
Yeah, lifestyle right now is so important. I mean, a lot of people are working from home indefinitely. You know, their kids, they're basically being not homeschooled, but kind of. So they need that extra space. So lifestyle questions are so important. It's where am I going to be? Am I going to have enough space? Now that people aren't commuting as much to work, can I move a little further east and get more for my money? So those types of questions are really important too, is where am I really going to feel the happiest and what's the most important to me based on my lifestyle?
Excellent. And now we're still in COVID here. It's, you know, it started in March and we're in October. None of us thinking it was going to be this long. It's probably going to be a lot longer than any of us anticipate.
Yeah.
And I remember when I sold my house through you, you know, the protocols of how to show my home. So for those viewers who didn't get to see our part 1 and 2, can you go through the process of, let's say I'm a new buyer and I want to go in and see all these different homes. What's the protocol during COVID?
I think the first part we touched on again is the pre-approval. We touched on that. And now many sellers want that pre-approval letter before they'll even give you an appointment, because they want to make sure that people come to their home are really serious and qualified. That's step 1. Step 2 is viewing the home online. That's often a condition as well. Have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the virtual tour if it is available? So now they've got you pretty much, they understand this person coming home is pretty serious about buying. They actually are interested in this home. It checks their boxes. Now they're coming just to see it in person. I think that's a big adjustment to where before you could just kind of, drop in on open house, check out my neighbor's house. Here's what it looks like. Those days are done. So then the next step is just the safety aspect. So you have the paperwork, which is a property entry disclosure form that as realtors we would provide to you from the Association of Realtors. And that just basically says you don't have COVID, don't have symptoms of COVID, you're going to take all the precautions. And those precautions would be, of course, a face mask. Some people actually ask that you wear gloves and shoe covers. We'll, of course, have hand sanitizer and backup with us, face masks and gloves and whatnot. So definitely, and the number of people. You're not bringing your whole family. You're bringing the agent and typically +2, a husband and wife, or 2 people, or whatever it might be.
And if there's a larger family, then they, per law, we have to go in 2 at a time. So we have 2 people go in first, 2 people go in at a time. And then if there are other people there showing, of course, you wait for them to exit, stay within 6 feet of each other, or 6 feet or more of each other. And we just all have to be very careful. Sellers are very concerned with that, and buyers. I mean, we have some elderly clients too that we preview for with our video, with our phones. We're just there as a virtual walkthrough because they're high risk in some instances. So it's different, very different, much more controlled, no more open houses. And sellers are very persnickety about no looky-loos. They want to know that you're pre-approved and that you're serious before they open their home to, virtually strangers.
Right. Great advice. So we're down to about our last 5 minutes. Do you have any closing remarks that we can give to potential buyers out there?
One thought I've got is just, with the upcoming elections, it actually can have an impact on the real estate market as well. Because what happens is, with any type of geopolitical events like this, the economy, especially the finance world, the lenders, they can tend to put up their insurance policy, which is the interest rate. So we don't know what's going to happen come November. So right now they're keeping interest rates low to keep the economy stimulated and people buying house and selling house and all the jobs that support. So if you're thinking about buying, now's a great time because we have people who have got pre-approved over the middle of the week, found a home on a Saturday, writing an offer on Sunday, and it's literally being reviewed and accepted on Tuesday. It can happen that fast. And that's good because then we can get you in before potentially an interest rate rise. The other part is, as we approach the holidays, that's another thing where maybe sellers who are going to put on might be waiting. Now you're like, oh, I need to find a home. And so there's those 2 parts, the election and the holidays. We don't know how that's going to affect everything with interest rates. And so if you are thinking about moving now, there's still time to be able to move.
Yeah, and to that point with the holidays, you're not going to have as many buyers, so your competition won't be as steep. So if you are thinking about making a move, it's a good window to come in before everybody's back from vacation, everybody's back from Christmas shopping, and your competition has gone up. So yeah, anything we can do to help, we're here. Any questions, to be your soundboard, whatever you guys need, just let us know.
Those are 2 excellent points that you brought up. That yeah, we're in October right now. Next, about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks is the election, so things can change dramatically.
Yep.
Right.
And like you said, we don't know. Holidays are just around the corner, which I can't believe it's almost the end of the year.
This year just
flew by.
What even happened this year?
All the challenges that we've all have faced. But the housing market has kept you guys very, very busy.
Very busy.
Both for buyers and sellers, and which is good for you because that means you're making some money.
We're helping a lot of people.
Yeah.
And on both sides. Because I know we're talking a lot about first-time buyers, but the people have to sell a home. And we help them with that process as well.
A lot of relocations right now.
Yeah.
And another thing, I know we only have a couple minutes left, but it just entered my mind is the rules, I think in January are going to change too, as far as for renters who have a moratorium on not paying their rent. And then I believe in January, they're supposed to pay back all that rent, which we know a lot of people are not going to be able to afford that. And, homeowners who haven't been getting the money coming in. So that might mean that there might be more properties on the market to sell. It all depends on location, geographically, the income or the amount homes are worth, that this will take effect. But a lot of things are going to be happening within the next couple of months. So it's great for people to have an idea of what direction am I going into? Am I going to stay a renter? Am I going to be a property owner? If I'm going to be a property owner, should I buy now? Should I wait?
That's right.
Yeah, it's never too early to start that.
Yeah, and based on what you mentioned about the moratorium being lifted on for renters not having to pay rent because of COVID, that's being lifted at the beginning of the year, and what they're projecting that will be affecting multifamily. So that's more apartment buildings. That's where we're going to see some opportunity as far as foreclosure, potential foreclosures and things, because landlords haven't been able to make their rent. They're not really forecasting that for single family, like regular homes for you and I type thing. It's more for commercial apartment type buildings where people are renting apartments type of thing.
And that's a whole nother.
That's like a whole other.
We could do another episode on that.
That's after you buy your first home, then we get you on our process to, if you want to become an investor, we talk to you about that strategy.
Yeah, that's a whole other beast.
Well, we just thought of a part 4 that we could do now.
Perfect.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know how extremely busy you are with helping buyers and sellers with property. And for the viewers, please subscribe and like, and let us know what type of content you want out there, so I can get the experts in here to provide that content for you. So without any further ado, thank you so much, you two.
Thank you, Lita.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Have a great day.